Hello and welcome to the Daily Quest episode number 23. My name is Solid Jake and today we are taking a look at Falstad, 3 builds, and a pro level replay featuring the most common build that we see in competitive Heroes of the Storm. Now, let's just jump right on into it. Falstad, he is a ranged assassin with a lot of mobility. Q Hammerang, you throw it out, deals damage, slows the enemies by 25% for 2 seconds, and it does have a return path, so as it's returning, it can hit the enemy a second time or additional enemies in the way. Now, this is a really good ability for a variety of reasons. It's good control, it's good poke, and it's good lane clear. His W is a little bit more focused. Single target lightning rod deals 107 damage to an enemy and additional damage over 4 seconds. But you need to remain close to the target, so you really have to kind of be in for the kill when you cast lightning rod, looking to get that critical damage in those moments. And of course he has barrel roll, that's his escape, but he also gets a small shield while he uses it. This gives him sustainability and survivability. Just get out of harm's way. You can use this as Butcher charges on you, just barrel roll away from him. A lot of different situations. It's just really good for survivability. For his heroics, he's got Hinterland Blast, massive line damage. It's an AoE, but it's in a line, and it does do a strong amount of damage. Mighty Gust, also very powerful. It is a huge gust of wind that pushes enemies away, but also reduces their movement speed. Decaying over 5 seconds, starts at 60%, but of course, that will very quickly deteriorate in terms of how much they are slowed during that time. But his trait also very good, as Falstad does not have a mount. Falstad gets a passive 20% increased movement speed after not taking damage for 6 seconds, but he also has a fly, allowing him to fly across the map, quickly closing the gap between lanes. We've seen Falstad used very well to try to help split soak. When there is an objective in the bottom of the map, you can really just get an additional lane of XP and then fly down a little bit later than the rest of your team. You can hunt for abathurs throughout the game. There's a lot of really great things that Falstad brings to the table. But there's a few different ways that you can actually play Falstad. Now, Falstad, of course, is a ranged assassin, so you're definitely going to be playing him as a ranged assassin. I'm not saying you can be a support or a tank or a melee assassin, but there's 3 different styles and 3 different benefits to those styles that are really good for Falstad. So just take a look. Now, the first and most popular build we see Falstad playing nowadays is the full-on auto attack build. Now, the auto attack build really is designed to just be in your face and do maximum damage, right? That's the idea. And a lot of that just comes down to making sure you can soak those lanes well. So Seasoned Marksman, this is going to be critical that you soak lanes throughout the game. This is going to empower your basic attack throughout the game, and it'll get stronger and stronger. At level 4, you want to go for Power Throw. So this gives you additional range on your Q, the Hammerang, and it also is going to add to the slow duration by 25%. So the range is increased by 40%, and the slow duration is increased by 25%. So this gives you a safer poke. It gives you something to try to close the gap a little bit better because they're going to be slowed for a longer period of time. And it's also going to leave your weapon out for a while. So since you're throwing it farther, it's staying out longer, but that has some great synergy with Secret Weapon at level 7. Since your Hammerang is it's traveling for a longer period of time, you do 80% bonus damage with your auto attacks while your Hammerang is in flight. So you throw your Hammerang out, it slows the target, and now you're doing 80% additional damage while they're slowed. You're just shredding through them. It's really quite powerful, the synergy that exists there. At level 10, if you're feeling really, really overconfident that your team has all the peel in the world, you can consider Hinterland's Blast, but you should be going for Mighty Gust. Mighty Gust is just so powerful for disengage. You can blow half the team away and leave 1 to 2 members behind if you aim it properly and take really advantageous team fights in those scenarios. And it's a full disengage if you're ever in a bad spot. You realize your team is just having a bad fight and you want to stop that fight, you just use Mighty Gust. It's a very short cooldown, 40 seconds, and it is just so good. Once we get to level 13, you want to look at Giant Killer as like that go-to ability. It doesn't matter if they've got 1 warrior or 3. Giant Killer just does more damage based on their health pool. And you think about the meta right now, I mean, we don't see Asmodan all that often, but it's very good against Asmodan. It's very good against every warrior in the game. It's great against heroes like Uther, but it's good against all heroes in general. It's just giving you more auto attack damage across the board. At level 16, you want to look at Hammer Time. Hammer Time is going to give you a 0.75 second stun from your first auto attack after you hit your Q. So you're going to slow them, and then you're going to give them a brief stun, and this is going to give you just such a nice safe window to do a lot of damage while your hammering is traveling and you're getting all that auto attack burst out. And at level 20, you're going to look to get Nexus Frenzy most of the time. Once in a while, you might consider grabbing Epic Mount. Epic Mount is just great for mobility, but Nexus Frenzy, it's 20% attack speed and 20% attack range. The auto attack Falstad build that we just talked about is by far the most popular build that we see in competitive play. And I would advise this if you're just looking to play Falstad at the optimal level in Hero League, this is the build you should go for. But if you're looking to mix things up, have a good time, and you want to play some different styles of Falstad, there are definitely some other strong styles that exist. Now, looking at Spellcaster Falstad in the middle lane here, it's all about your spell power. And this is something that peaks at level 16, right? That's when this build gets way more powerful. Now, spell power Falstad isn't quite as powerful as it used to be in the past. It used to be the go-to when gathering power was a thing. Falstad was really quite good, but he no longer has gathering power. He now has Gathering Storm at level 1. And this is going to empower your Q, your Hammerang, but every time you hit an enemy hero. So this also is affected by the hammer as it travels back. So you can hit a hero twice at a time. In theory, you could get 10 bonus damage from throwing the hammering out once if you were to hit the entire enemy team twice. Now that's very unlikely, and obviously this gets even better if they have Lost Vikings, because it's multiple bodies. But you know, it's a new talent they gave him recently, and it's the go-to for this build. At level 4, you're going to go for Charged Up, just 2 more strikes. Level 7, you want to go for Boomerang. This allows you to blow up the hammering as it's traveling, doing additional damage. At level 10, you'll go for Hinterland's Blast. 13, you're going to pick up Crippling Hammer. In some cases, in this case though, when you're going for full-on damage, you're probably going to want to go for Thunder Strikes, just because it's 15% additional damage for the subsequent strike. So you already have the slow by default. If you feel like you need the peel, if you feel like the enemy team has like Thrall or Illidan, you want a little bit of additional peel mixed in with this, you can go for Crippling Hammer, but Thunder Strikes is going to give you the optimal amount of damage. At level 16, you have to get Overdrive. This is like by far the most crucial part of this build. You pick up Overdrive because that's just going to give you that 25% boost in ability power. Yes, it makes your mana cost 40% higher, but it gives you this huge boost in ability power, and you pair that with Hinterland's Blast, you pair that with your Hammerang and your Thunder Strikes, and it's just going to hurt way too much. And at level 20, you get Call of the Wild Hammer. It's just 25% additional damage as well for your Heroic. So now your Heroic can be amplified by 50% of its original power. Of course, it scales throughout the game as well, and you just have this huge, powerful AoE in the late game. Very fun style. If the enemy team, if you know they don't have a lot of Spell Shield available on their team, if they've got something that's just really good against auto attack, maybe they're running Reverberation on Muradin. If you're really worried about imposing Will and Tyrael or imposing presence in general, you might want to consider going this style, and it's incredibly fun to play. The last build we have is personally my favorite to play when I'm on Quick Match. It's the full-on utility Falstad, and this is about it's not about doing the most damage, it's about having the most utility for your team and really just peeling. So level 1, you want to pick up Updraft. This is just going to increase the range on your barrel roll, allowing you to get out of a lot of bad spots because you're going to be a little bit more cheeky and aggressive with this style. At level 4, you're going to pick up Power Throw. Again, just the longer travel distance and then the longer slow duration for your Q. Level 7, you're actually going to go for Battle Momentum. You just want to be able to cast as many abilities as possible with this because, again, you're all about utility. At 10, Mighty Guess, again, great utility. Level 13, you will go for Crippling Hammer. So this is going to increase the slow by 50%. So now they're slowed longer and they're slowed by more in this build. Level 16, that's when you're going to look at Afterburner. This is going to give you a big movement speed boost after you use the barrel roll. So you're going to barrel roll farther, and then you're going to move faster. It's just going to help you get out of there. Now, you could consider Airy Gust, but that's better for like roaming. I think Afterburner has more impact at that in the moment for these team fights to get into position and land those perfect Mighty Gusts or those huge slows with your hammering. And at level 20, you have two choices. Wind Tunnel, the upgrade on Mighty Gust, which is hilariously fun. You can pin Butcher or whoever you want to punish to a wall and then just unleash on them, and it's super fun. Or Epic Mount, also incredibly fun. Allow yourself to fly across the map faster than pretty much anything, and it reduces the cooldown of your flight to 20 seconds. So it's a really strong tier for Falstad. I mean, 20 is good for everyone, right? But the options here are ridiculously fun. I think he has the most fun level 20 talents of any character in the entire game. But those are three really good styles of Falstad that you can try out on the ladder, and I highly advise it. But today, we're going to take a closer look at the auto attack style. Now, this is indeed the most common style that we see in competitive play. Auto attack style is just, it hits really hard. It's good against multi-warrior, which is relatively common in the meta because you go for giant killer, and it just does the most damage. It's tried and true to be the highest damage output of all of the builds in Heroes of the Storm, and we are loaded up to a game here. Now, this was actually a match from Enter the Storm, and we're going to be seeing our boys here rocking it out. Now, this is Fnatic on the left side. We're going to watch from Fnatic's point of view. Baguette. They're just talking about baguettes. That's just the standard stuff here in the European tournaments for the Heroes of the Storm scene. And right off the bat, we're seeing Falstad go for Seasoned Marksman. So for Seasoned Marksman, you have to kill 6 minions, and then you get 1 additional damage. And takedowns, you get 3 minion kills. So this talent might seem like, oh, well, that's not really that much damage. But as the game progresses, as you slay hundreds of minions, well, you start to get pretty powerful towards the late game. And then stacking with 80% damage increase while your hammering is out, and all these other talents that increase your damage across the board, it really does make quite a bit of difference for any hero that has Seasoned Marksman. We also see Raynor going for Seasoned Marksman. I'm actually going to go ahead and then just disable this. I always forget to do that when I'm observing games. And there we go. So right off the bat, just ridiculous amounts of damage. ETC tries to power slide away. No luck. Nice hook there from Stitches. It's pretty uncommon to see Stitches in competitive, but here he is doing his best to lay down the law against the enemy team. The thing is even though he's able to hook Falstad, Falstad can just barrel roll out of harm's way. And that's just another thing that makes Falstad a really valuable assassin, right? So, Dwarf Toss, there it is. Now, we think about assassins. Kael'thas doesn't really have escape. Vala does. Jaina, she has slows, but no escape. Again, there's a lot of different styles of utility. Ooh, bit of a hiccup there with the game, but it looks like it is normalized for the most part. And we're actually just going to speed things up ×1. So we're just going to put it on faster game speed here in the replay client and just let this all progress. So again, just a lot of light poking, a lot of light pressure, waiting for the immortals to spawn. Now, put it back to normal. Falstad. Talk about this map in general. We're talking about Battlefield of Eternity. What is really valuable on Battlefield Eternity? Poke. And in the past, in the original version of this battleground, we'd see a lot of use of Zagara, Nazeebo, heroes that could really poke well. But Falstad, Kael'thas, Jaina, they're also, probably the 3 best ranged assassins in the game. And they excel in this right. Now, well, Raynor also deserves to be up there nowadays. Looking at the enemy team, what do they have to worry about? They have to worry about hooks, and this is why they pick Stitches. They're thinking, all right, well, melee assassins, they're not really preferred on this map generally, but we've got this double warrior, and if we manage to land a hook, then we have power slide, and when it comes to late game, we're going to have bullseye there for Raynor, so that's another 1.5 seconds of stun. There's a lot of power with that, but Falstad and Kael'thas, you're going to see how fast they're able to burn through this. They just have the greater damage in their draft. So if it ever comes to a situation where they're racing over the health pools of these immortals, it's gonna be really good. Nice hook going out there onto Breeze, but that is Muradin. Not really an easy target to kill. Medic heals are on point. But again, Medic needs to be so careful with her positioning due to that Stitches on the enemy team. Let's go to our Falstad's point of view for a little while here. And I am terrified of hitting his actual perspective key due to the fact that it has broken the replay client several times in the last week. So we're not going to do that right now. But again, look at this poke. He doesn't even have level 4 yet. Doesn't have the increased range and power throw. But he can still just poke and prod with that. Now, one of Falstad's weaknesses is his mana cost, right? He's already had to tap the well just because he's out of mana from poking a little bit here and there and throwing out his abilities. He does burn out his mana pretty quickly. But again, he has fly. He can just easily use his flight. It's a 45-second cooldown, mind you, to fly back into battle after hearthing back to his base to restore his mana. The superior damage they have allowed them to burn through that Immortal pretty easily, even though they were forced away at one point. But once they realized the red team was on their Immortal, they, just rotated up and burned through it. They have a huge advantage. Red team now looking to try and posture ATN Happy in the front, but Medic is going to slip away. She gets behind the Merc camp. She's relatively safe there. Tyrael in the front line, just poking, and the defense has been mounted. But what happens when the defense happens? Tyrael goes up to soak the lane, get the experience. Falstad comes down to the bottom lane to soak, and suddenly the red team is stuck defending because their Immortal is so very low on experience or on health, and they're collecting experience in both lanes. They're out soaking their opponents. Their experience is starting to take a lead, even though it's just the one kill, which really isn't that substantial. And now we're level 5 to 4. Level 4 was hit a bit ago. We did see that power throw was indeed picked up. Like we said, this is the normal style that we see in competitive play. And now Falstad can poke even safer, but he is the optimal one to be soaking the lane. All things considered, boss picked up with more than half of its shields available. That is a very successful first Immortal of the game, and it looks like they're going to opt to push with it. Now, just in general on Battlefield of Eternity, with the first Immortal, since it's so weak, you generally should push with it. Some teams will go out of their way to try to do a big split push style where they let the Immortal go to the top lane, and then the rest, they'll throw one member with it to get the soak, and they'll throw the rest of the team in the bottom lane to try to split push. But since the Immortal early game, even though they have like 60% shield, is so weak, like you can blow it up very quickly, you should generally just try to push with it. You're generally going to get more experience, more damage done as a whole, and just throw one member to the other lane to get the soak in that lane. When it comes to later in the game, the split push is much more viable. The Immortal hits much harder, so it's definitely worth considering, doing the split push, letting the Immortal push top lane, and then trying to take out the bottom keep if you've already got it exposed or something in that kind of scenario. All right, moving on here. The Immortal up, are making its way to this bottom lane. They're starting to push it out. Nice gravity lapse there. We can see the damage already just from Falstad Kill Thas is quite substantial. They hit really hard. But Falstad's build, really just kind of in its fledgling status. It's a baby right now, right? Only level 4. His true damage is in the late game when he starts to get those Seasoned Marksman stacks up. Now, that's another point that I want to make is Falstad is generally the one soaking the lanes here on Battlefield of Eternity, and that's good for a lot of reasons. He needs those Seasoned Marksman stacks, and he also can fly back into battle if he's needed at that spur-of-the-moment situation. So, very, very strong draft here from Fnatic. They're going to successfully eliminate this bottom keep very early. Falstad in a bad spot? Not really. He's got the barrel roll, predicts the hook. Very nicely done to go to the right side there. And guess what? Quacknix is going to walk out of that fight with as if nothing happened. Medic heals him to full in just a moment. He was thinking about tapping the well, decides against it as he just got healed to full and he has enough mana in the tank. Sylvanas up here top. Breeze gonna miss the Storm Bolt, so Sylvanas gets away, and Falstad needs to be careful. Now, this is pretty smart by ATN Happy to wait in the bush like this, and he's also giving vision for Stitches. But as soon as he sees this camp's taken, he knows he needs to get out of there. You see him consider Hearthing, backs away. Nice hook there in Kill Thas. Mene is in a pretty bad spot, but Medic heals just way too much, and they pick up the kill. Level 7, we're past that. That just means Secret Weapon is there, so now Falstad has that true damage potential. Even though we're only level 7, 80% more damage from your auto attacks, when you've already empowered your auto attacks to have 10 additional damage, which means he's killed at least 60 minions or some heroes in the mix to get that amplified damage, he's gonna hit ridiculously hard. We'll find out pretty soon exactly his power. They're showing off his flight flying on in here. You never want to, this is something I want to point out, you never want to fly directly into your enemy team's vision. You don't necessarily always have eyes on your opponents, and especially if you don't have eyes on your opponents, I've seen so many Falstad players like fly here and then get hit by a shot from a tower, or fly like right into the center of the map and then Kerrigan pops out and then just destroys the Falstad player. This time we saw Falstad, he knew they might be here. He knew they might be like lurking right over here. He flew to somewhere where they would have no vision. The chance of the enemy team waiting here, there's no benefit to waiting here unless you're expecting a rotation. And he knows they're not expecting a rotation right now because it's just been Tyrael soaking the top lane the entire game. So he knows this is a safe spot, and that's how you should always look to do it. Get as close as you can to your target location, but do it in the safest manner possible. And oh my goodness, he got like 2 auto attacks out. Let's just kind of show that. I wish I could do this in slow motion. I really, really do. I've actually reached out to Blizzard and said like, hey, if we could slow-mo the game, you know, we can fast forward it, but why can't we slow-mo it? It would be really good to just kind of break down fights and look at the damage output. So you got to throw at the hammering. It's going to give you the slow. He's casting it right now. And then his auto attacks, they hit pretty hard. He only got 1 off there, but Kharazim did fall pretty quick. And that's only going to get more dangerous as the game progresses because of the nature of battle momentum. All right, let's fast forward to the next Immortal spawn. Falstad has helped the team just have strong presence across the map consistently, and they do have a full level lead going towards level 10. Now they're going straight for the Immortal once again. They have far superior damage. Tyrael is just scouting, which is, you know, something great to point out. And right now, it is Falstad cleaning up the lane. And that's another thing that I could harp on 1,000 times. You should always take your best lane clear. And if you're playing Sylvanas, if you're playing Falstad, if you're playing Jaina, you should be the one to clean up the mercenary camps every single time. If you're throwing another hero that is far less efficient at cleaning a lane up to push that lane back, up to stop that mercenary camp from doing a lot of damage, you're hurting the whole team. They really shouldn't be wasting all their time up there, and that gives the enemy team a bigger window in which your team is distracted to make something happen. So that's just another great thing to point out in general for heroes that I see a lot of people, you know, lacking in their play. All right, they've pushed forward to the Immortal. Tyrael able to use Eldruin's Might, but he does end up falling. The explosion will connect him Kharazim unless he uses Radiant Dash. Nope, just a moment too late. Not like it's critical damage by any means. And we see that there are now bruisers in this bottom lane. So Falstad is actually just, you know, he was soaking bottom, getting more stacks. He's up to 12 stacks. Falstad was soaking top, but now they have level 10. That was their whole goal. They said, you know what, we can sacrifice the first half of our Immortal's health bar. We'll just get our heroics. Enemy team now has to respond to mercenaries, which have pushed all the way to this back keep, and it's lost more than half its ammo on the wall. And with these heroic abilities, I mean, we're talking Mighty Gust, Great Control, Stimpak Drone with Falstad auto attack style is going to be really scary. And Phoenix, like, they just can't take the fight. They have to leave, they have to defend. And we've already seen how quickly they can burn. Oh, Mighty Gust just used for the utility, buying time on the Immortal to allow them to race that much more effectively. Just another awesome, cool bit of utility that exists on Falstad. So even in this damage style, 40-second cooldown on Mighty Gust, can definitely spend that to blow them away. Just in general on this map, I mean, we have Phoenix. 40-second cooldown. Throw it down aggressively versus the Immortals. Falstad, Mighty Gust, 40-second cooldown. Use it defensively on your Immortal to protect it. There's so many cool things about this draft in general that I really, really, really enjoy. Okay, well, the Immortal picked up. Red team, they just need to soak and get their level 10. So they have those heroics, so they can fight, and now they have it. So blue team's being a little bit more cautious in this moment, realizing that heroics could ruin everything that they've hoped to prepare for this match. Now we do see Mosh Pit. Again, Mighty Gust, a great response to that. Wheeling Arrow, 7-sided strike, Battle Cruiser, and Putrid Bile. And Stitches, he's getting pretty beefy with Hungry for More. Can actually take a look at him. He's got 11 stacks, 330 bonus health. Not too bad. But the moment they realize that the enemy team is missing, we see our blue team come down here to the bottom lane. Phoenix thrown out, just chipping away at this wall casually. That's exactly what you want to be hitting. It has done now 1 shot total to the keep that he wanted to hit. Okay, nice. Well done. And our Falstad is just doing great in getting his stacks up there. 16 seasoned marksman stacks. The Rainer is at 15, so he's keeping up. He's keeping up well. It's very even right now. Okay, the bottom siege camp has been picked up. Our Khazar camp. And they will just casually march on in. Falstad is just kind of waiting to see where the enemy team is. Oh, realizes he needs to Mighty Gust. Gravity Lapse thrown out onto the Stitches, who is getting quite low. We see he's able to stay alive with his self-heal. And Battlecruiser will at least deter Quacknix for the time being. Just waiting in the shadows, waiting for them to approach once again. He knows how much damage he can do when he throws out the Hammerang. And as the Stormbolt goes out, he's going for Stitches. I mean, that might seem like an odd call, but Stitches is so far forward. The damage they have is real. And Stimpack Drone is still available. Haven't seen it used yet. We'll see some really scary power out of Falstad in that moment, which does come out. But so far, they've just been saving it because they know the enemy team could disengage pretty effectively with Putrid Bile. And, ETC could land a big mosh pit if they're not careful. All right, Stormbolt just thrown out. Hook there on Murden. Dwarf Toss available. He's going to be all right. And Falstad making his way down. Mighty Gust has to be used. The moment he realizes he's in a bad spot, he Mighty Gust the team away. They find one hero to seclude him and blow him up. Let's look at that again. This Falstad has a target. Rainer. Rainer is the one focus of Falstad. He goes in. He throws the Hammerang out. All right, he doesn't really do much, but he sees Rainer secluded. So he's like, all right, I want to kill Rainer. This is a great spot for me to do this. Team can rotate over, and we can control this. And it might seem like he's overextended. If you were playing any other ranged assassin, if you were to come in here like Jaina, people would be like, dude, you're way too far forward. You can't do that. But Falstad does not care. He has Mighty Gust. So the moment he realizes that he's in a tight spot, he just got hit by the penetrating round of Rainer. We can see it still right there. He's just going to cast Mighty Gust. It ends up leaving ETC slowed by 60%, of course, decreasing. That's very easy to hit a Gravity Lapse when ETC is slowed by that much, and they just blow him up. He got caught on the wall, and they're able to get him. Tyrael has Eldruin's Might. Putrid Bile has to be used as we see him step forward. Eldruin's Might used aggressively in that case, and the heals of Medic are just insane. Quacknix will just go back to base, refill all of his mana, and now he has Giant Killer. Now, Giant Killer, again, 1.5 damage bonus based on the hero's maximum health. Well, they have ETC and Stitch's health keeps getting higher. He has Hungry for More. He's got how much bonus health right now? 480 bonus health? That just means Falstad hits that much harder with every single auto attack. So, some anti-synergy for Stitch's build right now. But Falstad will like the numbers regardless. I mean, he gets pulled in, and he's got the retreat he needs. He didn't even have to use Mighty Gust. It actually would have been kind of unfortunate to use Mighty Gust in that situation. Uses it right now to just push them back towards their Immortal, which they were able to chip through so well. Look at the health bars on the right side. Like, not even close. They were able to poke so well, and they have the talent advantage. Team rotates together. In this case, it's the smart thing to do. Just rotate up here, take care of this mercenary camp, and then they can just come right back down and start poking. Once they see the damage being done to their own Immortal, they know that the gates are open at the enemy's Immortal, and they can poke it down very quickly, and they'll do just that. The race so incredibly far in their favor. Breeze and Tyrael in the front line. Both of them have an escape, and they pop Avatar. They're looking for an actual fight. Gravity Lapse there on ETC. He can't blink over the wall. It's not level 20. He is stuck, and he does go down to Falstad, who is now flying aggressively, looking for someone else to pick off. He's deep in their line. They're rotating up. He's actually, going in. Mighty Gust catching. That's a huge slow. They're looking at Stitches as a target. Eldruin's Might over the wall. Stormbolt doesn't actually connect. And we see even Medic throwing out her grenade, but they're not done yet. They're going aggressively. They have a 2-level lead. They're all weak. They find Rainer. Stitches in the back being chased by Chaos. Gravity Lapse gets the kill, just tearing them apart. Oh my goodness, Fnatic, please calm down. Well, let's look at the numbers. Falstad is currently sitting at 31,000. He's keeping up with Kael'thas, who has tons of splash damage. We talk about Living Bomb as being nightmarish. Everyone actually considers Falstad to be the strongest assassin in the game right now, and Falstad's not too far off. He's really up there when it comes to just high-level assassin. He's so hard to find. He's so to lock down and pick kills off on him with all his mobility and all of his control with Mighty Gust. And he does ridiculous amounts of single target damage. Wow, that was a scary attempt for a hook. If it caught someone like Falstad or a medic, they'd be dead for sure. But the other three can all escape over walls, which is just really intelligent drafting. Top keep fell, and they're already working on the bottom keep 14 minutes into this game. Once again, the power of Mighty Gust being displayed here as they just force half the team out of that fight and back away. Breeze in a bit of a tight spot, but of course, he will just walk his little dwarf legs away, and the team is all safe. They were able to put on, about more than half the keep's damage right there, and they took out the top keep. They have a 3-level advantage. They're all going back to base to just refill their mana tanks right now and then march back onto the map to continue their dominance over the control here. Mene is intelligent to not step out here. He doesn't know if the enemy team is lurking over this wall, right? You really never know. If you just wander out as an assassin, especially in a pro match like this, they could punish you. And with the underdog bonus, that might be what they need to get back into the game. So some nice restraint there by him, just waiting for his Muradin before he steps on out. Quacknix has been continuing to get those stacks up to 25 bonus damage on the auto attacks. And with the rest of this build, he's going to hit pretty hard. Now that he has hammer time, he gets that 0.75 second stun from the first auto attack after he throws out his hammering, and it's just going to make him a beast in any kind of 1v1 situation. If Raynor or Sylvanas are caught out and they have to duel with Falstad, it is not going to be pretty. All right, Hook has been whiffed. They just waited and waited and waited for it, and they're starting to poke away. Phoenix thrown out. You can soak the Phoenix if you stand in it. You notice it's prioritizing ETC. The moment he steps out of the circle, it switches to the keep and kills it. So if you're playing against a Kael'thas and you know you might be losing your keep, you might want to stand in the ring of that Phoenix to soak up those shots. But now that they've lost the keep, they've got catapults and 2 lanes to worry about, and their Immortal is just getting burned through. This team is just chipping away. Tyrael, just a massive scouting drone, keeping eyes on the opponent. Oh! A hook connects this time, but there's the immediate barrel roll from Falstad to get out of there. And it's just like every time they land a hook, there's no gain from it. It's almost like the team doesn't think he's ever going to land hooks, and they're not capitalizing. Falstad has that Simpact drone for the first time this game, and he's not using it. Now stepping forward, barrel rolling into the battle, and looking to try to make something happen. He's so passive with it. Oh, the disappointment. You can taste it in your mouth. I was so ready for him to just shred the whole enemy team. But he played safe. He doesn't want to die. He wants this perfect streak where he just doesn't die all game long. Actually, there's 1 death on the whole team right now, and it was Tyrael. All right, moving up. We see the damage going down. 7-sided strike was used, but Shad is getting those heals. Falstad flanking from the bottom. We see 1 health remaining for Raynor, and Mighty Gust is going to seclude ETC. ETC now in a bad spot. Holy Ground locking him in place. The complete control over this battle is impressive. Quacknix has to barrel roll back to safety, dodging the power slide, and we see Sanctification used at the last moment. Tyrael, Druid's Might, Holy Ground blocking the wall, and the heals from Medic keep him alive. I don't believe it. The hook onto Breeze, dwarf tossing back to safety. And our Falstad friend has been continuing to poke well. But I gotta hand it to the red team here. They just did a very good job pushing them back, using their Immortal to their advantage. Those hooks pulling people in. They nearly got the kill on Tyrael, who had to use Sanctification to stay alive. And I like this positioning from ETC. If someone steps through there, he can easily power slide. Ooh, just he felt the risk of the threat that existed from both Gravity Lapse and Stormbolt, so we just backed away. They're just kind of all hearthing because I am oblivious to what's actually happening, which is our Falstad that I'm supposed to be watching. Look at this. Catapults on the core. Both lanes completely pushed out. Falstad mannering to base and Mighty Gusting all the minions. Oh, I was just like so in the moment of those team fights, and apparently so was the red team, because that was GG. So what did we learn in that video? Well, we learned a few things. Let's mute the game here. Falstad, he hits pretty hard, and Mighty Gust is really good at saving you in every single situation. Between barrel roll, mind you, there's not a single barrel roll talent here. Look at the game. Not a single barrel roll talent. But he has Mighty Gust. So just the default barrel roll in Mighty Gust allows him to get out of any situation. He got hooked multiple times. I think twice he got hooked. ETC might have landed one power slide at him, but he dodged many power slides just from, being Falstad in general. And in a situation where he looked way overextended, he Mighty Gusted the whole enemy team and turned it into a kill. Every single time he Mighty Gust, it had a huge impact on the fight. The slow is just so powerful. And it's what makes Falstad so good. So that was the auto attack style Falstad we see here in the left column. If you're in try hard mode, you're playing Hero League, this is the way to go. Spellcaster Falstad is still very powerful, but it's a little bit more bursty. So it's, once you have Overdrive level 16, it's got that full burst. And if you just want to have a good time making your enemy team feel like they can't ever move around or fight in a situation with like good positioning, or you're against like multiple melee assassins and you just need to keep them at bay, go for the utility Falstad. It's really, really quite good. But yeah, that's my Falstad run through here for episode number 23. Now you'll notice my email is here, and this is for you guys to submit replays or requests. If you have a hero that you really just can't get a grasp of, and you want some info on, and you want to request that hero, I can push that topic forward and do an episode on that sooner than later. If there's a map or another topic that you guys would like me to cover in a future episode, also please request that. Or if you simply have replays that you want to submit for me to do on an EduCast episode where I cast and educate one of your games, you can submit them all there to solidgeekgg@gmail.com. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.